Hey, I'm Michael Dorinda,
And I'm Jake Bennett.
and welcome to episode 94 of the North Meet South web podcast.
Chicka chicka Janet.
So
Except for you should. Do you have
I don't know if you
music?
heard.
Do you have-
I don't know if you
I
heard.
didn't
I don't
hear it.
know in the live stream. My boss actually he listens to these episodes to troll me through the week. And he
Live?
said
Do you listen to them live?
not live, but he watches them after the fact. And I think he's got it set in his head that if it was not for him, I would have nothing to talk about / complain about on these episodes. But he was complaining to me that like the start of the podcast, there's just nothing on the live stream for as long as we're faffing about, and there's no
True.
music, there's no countdown, there's nothing.
True.
So
Yep.
for Alex,
True story.
there is now at the start of this stream, I'm sure you enjoyed it, there is a countdown
Alex.
timer and there is a
Yep.
adrenaline themed rock track to ring in the start of the episode. So
Yep. Just for you,
those
Alex.
of you that enjoyed, that were listening, watching live, enjoyed that. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to watch
different.
it back because I couldn't see it. Only you could see it on your side.
Yeah, the audio doesn't come
Now, you
through here, but yeah, definitely on the YouTube, it's there.
You may or may not know this, Michael, but I should go grab the hat. I have another show. Not the Laravel News podcast.
Oh,
Not the North Meet South web podcast, but another one that we did during COVID for our company called the Subro Daily Show. And we would live stream that to all of our people across the nation. And so we actually have, and we do this like once a month now, where we have a whole countdown. We have like a whole like show. It's me and two other people. We do like memes and games and prizes. It's ridiculous. But I don't handle any of the video. Yeah. They handle all of it. I've got a dude who does like live streaming stuff. He's amazing.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I do. And so he uses all those cool tools and like the what is it, the A10 Mini Pro, the Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro. Actually, it's the A10 Mini Extreme now that we have. It's ridiculous. They've got all sorts of the stuff.
You've got more money to spend than I'm willing to spend. So.
Oh yeah, and then we need, right? Because like you said, until today, we literally never had an intro.
No, we would just
so
like stream this thing and it'd be done. But that just gives it a little bit something, so you know, because
a little bit of polish.
When for those of you who do watch the live stream of these episodes, we will usually hit go live and then there will be nothing for, you know, it could be a minute, it could be 5 seconds, it could be 3 minutes until it happens. So now we've got a countdown, and we've got music and it's all wild. So we're having a blast. We've got some stuff to talk about. I was actually going to do some live streaming today because Ree said, "Oh, let's go and visit my family," and I said, "You realize that I'm recording in like an hour and a half. There's no way that I can go to your family, come back in time for this, and have an act. Like we could drive there and drive back, but no time to actually, you know, spend there." So I had a little bit of time. We were transitioning Olivia into her own room.
I saw that. I saw that on Facebook.
Not been going too well. We put her down in there and she sort of sleeps until 11 and then she's a bit, you know, up and down and she's waking up and I think she's got too much room in her cot, so she's like flailing around. Yep. Whereas in the bassinet that she's in our room, she's kind of like banging up the sides of it. So, you know, she knows where her boundary is and she sleeps much better in that. So Friday night was the first night, was a bit rough. Last night was a little bit better, but still not great. So tonight we put the air mattress on the floor in her room, and we've put the bassinet in there just so that she can get accustomed to the room, I suppose, and see how that goes. So set that up, and then I was going to do some live streaming. Someone came up with a nice suggestion for Then Ping Me to basically be able to add to push the task settings as part of the sync payload. So if you change any part of your task, when we sync it, we'll drop it and then recreate it, which means if you've got any custom grace period or run times and things like that set up, they will be forgotten on that sync and you've got to go back in there and set them up again. So this person, whose name I don't know right now, but I will look up in a sec, they suggested being able to do it as part of the sync payload. And so just before this episode, I thought I would do a live stream of getting that up and running. I didn't do the then ping me side of things because I didn't want to expose the the private side of the application to the world, because I know some people who run competing products are watching this podcast and don't need to see that code. However, the Laravel package itself is public. So now that I've got the then ping me side of things working,
has been copied into core, some of it.
yeah,
right?
some of it, yeah. So now that that's up and running on the then ping me side, and I just got that working just before we started recording, I might, depending on when they get home, live stream the other side of things, and go from there. So that should be fairly straightforward. So it'll just be another method that you chain onto the schedule in the console kernel. So you would do schedule command arrow and then like pass then ping me, just so it's obvious, and then pass an array of like grace period and
interesting.
Allowed runtime and notify threshold.
I see.
That you control that from your side. And so anytime you sync that task, we'll just sync those settings straight away. So
that's a great idea.
That'll be good. Yeah, that is nice. And that's I apologize that I haven't replied to that person there.
That's actually even a better idea than what mine was, which was that like we could obviously probably tell if it's the same task, pretty close anyway. Like we could guess as to whether it's not the same task, right, by the name that it's getting passed through. But
yeah.
But it's a little more complicated than that, obviously, because it's possible too that you could have a conflict where you accidentally have two like tasks that are named the same. If they were like, right, that's possible. We talked about it.
Yeah, it was Anders Billfelt. So thanks for that, Anders. I did take that on, and I know that you, unfortunately, you sent this to me a few weeks ago, and just with having kids and trying to juggle life, this is the only time that I've had, like, this is literally the only time I've had away from my family since you sent that ticket. So that is something that I'm working on now. Whether or not I finish it today or not is another story, but that's a great idea, and I really do like that. So we'll get that up and running hopefully this week.
Absolutely.
sometime.
That is a great idea.
It's a good feature.
Is an excellent idea. I like that. I like that.
I'm hoping to be able to spend a bit more time on then ping me, because it's kind of just like sat there and it's worked.
True story.
We haven't had any errors. I've been using it for a few of my freelance clients and things like that, and I'm happy with it. But it kind of just sits there, and we haven't done any marketing for it or anything like that. For I guess since the new year ticked over, kind of yeah. So I don't know. We gotta do something. We gotta put some thought into it and just get this stuff done. I wanted to roll out the new version of Spark, so I started working on that. So that we could decouple from the Stripe billing thing. Like, don't get me wrong, the Stripe customer portal and all of that billing stuff is fantastic. It's just we get a little bit more flexibility in terms of customer contact and things like that. Jack Ellis mentioned that like he doesn't want to receive the monthly renewal emails, and unfortunately Stripe is kind of on or off for everyone. There's no and I think personally it's better, especially when you've got customers that are renewing annually. You want to let them know, it's kind of detrimental. They might go, I haven't really used that, and they cancel it. But at the same time, if you're going to get invoiced something once a year, it's nice to be able to notify those customers, hey, we're about to charge your card X amount, a year's worth of whatever. So I want to keep it on, but I do want to give some control over it. And that's where kind of leaning towards Spark to do that, because that means that we're handling all of that side of thing, and we can say, hey, you can either have billing reminders on or not and things like that. So unfortunately, we kind of built a lot of this happened with Jetstream, right? We built a lot of the team stuff ourselves, and then we built a lot of the billing stuff using customer portals. So they were kind of separate, and then we got the team stuff working with Jetstream when that shipped late last year. I remember working on that when I was in the hospital waiting for Olivia to be delivered. And then the other bit around getting the Spark billing stuff is a little tricky, because we've got a lot of similarities in what we're tracking, but Spark names them differently. So it's a matter of like rolling back all those changes and making that consistent with what Spark's using, and then changing the UI so that it fits more closely with what we've got within then ping me. Fortunately, we used Tailwind UI to build that out. And then when
Right.
Jetstream came
Exactly.
out, Jetstream, it kind of modeled what Tailwind UI looked like. So, those things all fit together really nicely. And then we've got the Spark stuff, which is also built on Tailwind. Not Tailwind UI, but they all kind of look and feel the same. So it's fortunate
Right.
for us because it's fairly similar that we don't have to do heaps of design. We just need to click all the bits together. So that's where we're at now. I didn't want to work on billing because that seemed like an overwhelming task, given I only had a couple of hours to myself. So doing this is a
Little
good
more
approach.
of a reasonable chunk of work
It's
to
a
get
smaller
through.
chunk.
Yeah. Right.
And as I said, I've got at the moment, because I'm like back into the gym and I'm trying to focus on sort of keeping up with that. I don't get heaps of free time to work on this because I'm like working from home now, which means that I'm with the kids right up until I start work, and then I finish work, and then I'm
Yeah.
with the kids right up until they go to sleep, and then depending on the day, I'm either spending time with Ree
Then
or
you actually have to spend time with your wife. That's
yeah,
an important part of your day
yeah.
too.
So or I'm going to the gym. And I'm trying to keep my
Right.
gym sessions like really focused, and I'm getting through them. I'm not doing more than 40 minutes, but it's every other day, which means I lose that day to work on stuff. And I've had a few freelance projects on as well. So the days that I'm not at the gym, I've kind of been working on that stuff. And so hopefully it gets a little bit easier as the kids start to get a bit older and they're a little bit more self-sufficient. Eli's very pro, like, I need someone to be there at all times when I'm doing anything.
That's like a first child thing. Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's never really goes away,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that right now. Like well, I guess it depends. It really depends. Like with my first, he is that way because he's got the next two in line are younger sisters, and then his little brother is like 7 years younger than he is.
Mhm.
And so if he wants to like do something, like he wants to hang out with dad, right? It's like, hey dad, let's go shoot baskets. Like none of the
Yep.
other kids are going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
like, hey, can you go throw the ball with me or whatever? Or hey, come watch me I learned how to do a front flip on the trampoline. Like nobody else really appreciates that or cares because I taught him that, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's always like, especially with the oldest being a boy and stuff, it's like, hey dad, let's go, whatever, let's go do this. And so whatever, I don't know, like as he grows older, like there will be some independent stuff, like he'll go play baseball or go play footy or whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? He'll be on a team and he won't be at home doing that stuff. But yeah, no, for sure, like with my oldest, like he's still that way. He still wants to hang out with dad, which I love. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Never changed, buddy.
Yeah. And the tricky thing that we have at the moment is that he basically only wants mum, which you think is good. It's like, okay, he wants mum, I'm gonna go hang out and do my own thing. But like I can't leave Ree by herself to
Yeah,
look
I know.
after.
You feel
And
guilty, right?
I feel bad because I can't help, because if I try and help, he just gets more agitated that he can't spend time with mum. And Olivia, like, she just wants mum. And she doesn't want to be put there. She's getting better now where we can put her on the playmat or we can put her on the jolly jumper and things like that. But once she decides she wants mum, that's it. It's mum.
It's over.
And there's,
That's it. That's the only thing that's going to make her happy.
Yeah. And it's hard, but hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, I was talking to Wilbur Powery, and they just had their first little guy, and they've had a little bit of a difficult time with him sleeping and stuff, and he was just telling me the same thing the other day. He's like, he only wants his mom. Like he will only sleep if he is in her arms during the day, and then at night it's like ridiculous. So anyway, yeah, man, it's like it just depends. Each kid is a little bit different, but especially during those first months, man. Yeah, mom is the only thing that they care about. So. Yeah. Poor Ree. All right. Well, hey, you need to figure out a way to get that girl away from her for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. You got to take her shopping. Right. That's the trick. Take her shopping.
Yeah. Great.
Buy her jewelry. That's the trick.
7-month-old on that kind of thing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Talk.
Right. Exactly. Go get her ears pierced, Michael. That'd be a great idea.
I mean, Eli's really. Eli's
that was
really
a joke. That was a joke.
Eli's really good. I had to go and have my annual. I say annual. I didn't get it done last year because COVID, but my annual eye test yesterday, and I took Eli with me. Because
how'd that go?
Decided he was fine. He just sat on the chair and he was there, and he's like,
good man.
What's he doing? What's this? I'm like, I'm getting my eyes checked, mate. I'm getting my eyes checked.
He's hilarious.
So it was good. He was well behaved. We were there for 30, 40 minutes or whatever, and just like he's fine as long as mum is not an option. But there's you can't take him out all the time. And And it's starting to get colder now as well. And he's been going over to my parents' place in the evenings and like watering their plants. But we took him out on Friday night, and it started to get
that's
a little bit
hilarious.
cooler.
Air
And
quotes.
so,
For those of you
yeah,
who couldn't see, it
you
was
couldn't
air
see
quotes,
air quotes,
watering
yeah,
their plants.
watering their plants.
Yeah.
He's got like this little spray bottle, and he goes around and just like sprays the roses and the pot plants.
I bet they love that.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good fun, but it's because it's getting colder. So we took him Friday night, and then yesterday he woke up and there's snot streaming out of his nose, and I'm like,
Oh
we
no,
can't.
poor guy.
He can go and do it. It just has to be during the day. So, but Olivia starts her orientation this week for childcare, so she'll be going in for a couple of hours on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So Tuesday she'll go in with Ree, and Ree will sit with her and go in the room and play around and things like that. Thursday I'm gonna go with Ree because she's gonna drop Liv off, and she just abandon her there, and then like we're gonna go and do something. Otherwise Ree's gonna freak out. She's like,
yep.
But she's getting emotional, she's growing, she's growing up, and like she doesn't need me anymore. All this kind of stuff that you go through, which for Dad it's different, because for me I had paternity leave for 6 weeks, and then I was back to work, and I don't have much to do with Olivia during the day, and then I come home and I see her for an hour or two, and then it's like play for a bit. She's sleeping, she's gone to bed. That's kind of it. But the maternal attachment, where it's basically been Ree's full-time job for the last 7 months. It's like, well, what am I going to do now? And so Ree's gearing up to go back to work, and so Liv's got her orientation this week, and then in May she'll be going 1 day a week, June 2 days, and then Ree will be back at work 2 days a week in July. So it's all happening. It's the time's flying. So yeah. Anyway, lots of me talking, and I know you're on a
no, that's good.
Tight schedule. No, I know you're on a tight schedule. What have you got for us this week, Jake?
You know what, man? Like, oh man, I really like that at my job we get to play with whatever we want, right? Like, so, Alex, I'm sorry to tell you this, man, but if you're not on the Laravel and Tailwind and all that train, it's time to get on. It's time to get on the train, my friend. Because we are doing it over here, and it is a blast. We love it. It's great fun. So we get to play with all the toys, but here's the deal, right? At some point, you have to make a decision about what you're going to go with, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I feel like in some of our projects, it's like, okay, this project is using Liveware. Great. Love Liveware. And then it's like, oh, but we also have a little bit of Vue in there. And then it's like, but would this be better if we just did it with inertia? And then this one's like completely Vue. Mm. And then it's like, we're trying like, oh, you know what? This would be a perfect opportunity to try blade components, right? Mm-hmm. Let's do some blade components in here. And then before you know it, it's like, well, what the heck is going on? And you have to know all of them. And we do. Like, I do know all of them, and that's fine. But it's like, I really enjoy using each one of them in different spots, but I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like I just probably need to sort of standardize, like, because you can use any of them, but should you use all of them is the question, right? And so I'm kind of trying to like, I'm trading off sort of like what's the best, what's better versus what's I don't know, what's maintainable, all that stuff, right? I like staying in PHP if at all possible, but then I go into Vue sometimes and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it feels so good. Like, it feels great. Like, this is exactly how, like, all of the stuff, it just works great. And so I don't know, I'm sort of like challenged right now because I've been using Blade components, but most of the time when I'm using Blade components right now, it's just like these simple extracts, right? It's like instead of an include statement almost. I really don't use the class-based Blade components super often. So if I'm going to do that, I'm probably just going to use Livewire, right? And then, I also have the need for, like, in some projects we already have Vue pulled in, so I'll just use Vue instead. So I don't know. I'm at a little bit of a crossroads here because I'm trying to figure out, like, when the ones with the projects that have Vue, I'm not going to not use Vue. Like, I'm not pulling Vue out of there in favor of something else.
Vue out for something.
Exactly. But I'm wondering now, as I'm moving forward, if I stop experimenting with Livewire and things like that, and instead just use Vue. You know what I mean? If I just go in on it and be like, hey, this works great. So I don't know. Do you have opinions either way on like which ones you like better, or like which ones you find easier or more enjoyable to use, more maintainable?
Yeah. So I I haven't used Vue in any real capacity for a long time. Most of what I was doing at my last job was just PHP. So it was just Laravel, it was just Blade. There was, we might have used components here and there, but we certainly weren't using a lot of Vue. In my current job, there's not really any Laravel to speak of at all, except for what I've built in the last 2 months since I've been there.
Alex, come on, Alex.
There are parts of the business that won't ever run Laravel. There are, back-end systems and things like that are very, very performance sensitive. And so we're looking at some of the stats during the week, and we're talking, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of records in the database. So we're talking highly, not Octane, but highly efficient database queries, lots of writes and lots of writes very quickly. And I don't remember the specific values, but we're talking, thousands of writes per second. And so, just vanilla PHP, taking things, doing things. We're talking about optimizations for sure around, the kind of things that Jack Ellis has been doing for Fathom.
Sure.
Do we use Memcache as a store rather than, writing to MySQL? Do we keep things in memory? Memcache can actually write things out to disk. So if Memcache stops for whatever reason, you can recover that data.
It's not like
you're gone.
It's like you're just stuck, right? You're not screwed, right? It's like you still have it backed up on disk. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So there are certainly parts of the business that they're always going to be PHP, a vanilla PHP, or, the solution in those scenarios would be, if we needed more performance, not to, wouldn't go to Laravel. We'd potentially rewrite something in Go or whatever, because
that makes sense. Yeah.
Right? So there are certain parts of the business that will just never be Laravel. There are other parts of the business which are earmarked for rewrite. Admin interfaces, white label interfaces, things like that. That
makes
may
sense,
well, it makes more sense for those things to be Laravel, because you can rapidly rebuild, scaffold, feature, add features and things like that. So I think, broadly speaking, for me, if I'm building an application, I'm always starting with Blade. If you do a Laravel new now, there is no Vue at all. There's nothing, right? So my default for a new application is just PHP, just Laravel, just Blade just Blade views. If we're separating things out, Blade components. If I'm needing some level of reactivity or interactivity, then my next reach will be to Livewire now. And that's giving me the ability to, to have that real-time kind of aspect, and polling and all that kind of stuff without having to write any JavaScript myself, and getting that immediate feedback from those things. So I had to build out a page, or a lead gen type page the other day, which had a contact form on it. And so the contact form was just a one thing, like enter details, submit, sends an API request to add a ticket into our ticket system. And so that was Livewire, because we wanted, just keep it all in the little contact form rather than refreshing the whole page and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Then we added in our pricing tables, and then that needed a bit of reactivity because the prices changed based on how many phones you get. So, one phone is $30 a month, 2 phones is $60 a month, whatever, up to 100.
Sure.
So the next thing I reached for is Alpine. And that gives me the reactivity. I just pass the JSON encoded array of plan objects to the page, and then it just goes through, and you use your X model and all of that kind of stuff, and it all just works. So there's my next step. If I need any real-time sort of in-browser, it didn't make sense. Like, it could have been a Livewire component that did that, but it didn't make sense to send a post back to the server in order to get the next value, right?
That makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
So with anything like that where it doesn't make sense to send a post.
And you can use Entangle, right? Is it Entangle?
Yeah. So you've got Entangle if you wanna sync things up with the front end and the back end. And then I needed to interact between the pricing component and the contact component. So when you update the number of phones that you select in the pricing component, it updates and pre-fills the number of phones in the contact form. And so because Alpine and Livewire are built by the same developer, hello Caleb Porzio, they work absolutely beautifully together. They can't talk directly to each other, but I can dispatch an event from one up into the world and then have the other, act on that event. So anytime the number of phones changes in the pricing table, it dispatches an event and gets gobbled up by the contact form, and vice versa. So if you update the number of phones in the contact form, it does the same thing. It dispatches the event out into the world and gets gobbled up by the pricing one. So that's really where I'm at. That's not to say that there's anything wrong. I know my preference is to not write JavaScript, and that's mostly because it's not my strongest point. But with Livewire and Alpine, there's not really a lot that I build that needs more than that. And so Vue is great as a piece of tooling. Inertia's really good in terms of like giving you that reactivity, giving you Vue, giving you the best of both worlds, having your server-side routing and all of that stuff. I'm totally on board with all of that. It's easier for me to just keep it in PHP, especially now in where I'm working now. Even just getting people away from the old ways into something a little bit more modern is a fight big enough in and of itself. And so
even just without introducing like a whole new like language, right?
Yeah, even just introducing a build step to get the Tailwind stuff done is almost pushing too fast. So that's where I'm at basically. So yeah, to summarize, plain PHP, vanilla PHP with Blade first. I say vanilla PHP. My vanilla PHP is Laravel Blade, right? So that's my first.
Sure. Agreed.
Then it's going to Livewire. Then it's adding Alpine.
So is there a step between Livewire and is there a step between Laravel and Livewire where you say Laravel and then Blade components? Is that ever a thing, or you go straight from Laravel to?
Depends on what the component is.
Blade. Yeah.
Like I extracted Blade components for like feature sections on the page. We've got 5 features, so I'm gonna have 5. I'm not gonna have copy paste of the same Tailwind classes 5 times. I'm gonna throw that into a component. But these are components for the sake of reducing duplication, not for functionality.
Sure. Yeah, right. But so even with that though, with Blade components, some of them, right? So you could do things like you could almost treat that Blade component like you would a controller, right? Like I think you can even do like method dependency injection and things like that. So you could grab out like like you could say phones : find all for, or whatever, like, or plans, right? You could do those sorts of things inside of a component if you didn't need sort of the Livewire reactivity, sort of bind this to that sort of deal, right? I forgot about Alpine.
Yeah,
we've used Alpine
the only time I've really used a class-based Blade component is for an alert where I want to toggle the color. I want to have an alert component that could be either red or green or blue.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so, I'd pass that in, and say, do this, and then because it needs to figure out like what color the text needs to be, what color the background needs to be, what color the border needs to be.
Sure.
And what icon to use. So there's 4 bits there that you don't really want to do in the template itself. I mean, you can.
Exactly.
I know that Jetstream does. There's an add PHP block inside the Blade component, but yeah, I try and keep that stuff separately. Although recently I did some, I was just playing around with some stuff myself, and I did a thing where I needed to color the text based on a percentage. So, if it was between 0 and 25, it was red. If it was between 25 and 50, it was orange. Whatever. So I just did that using an inline match statement inside a Blade component because that was
I remember
easy
seeing
enough.
that. Yeah. I have a little bit different way to do that. I'm trying to remember. I've got that in like 3 different places, maybe 4. And I remember thinking at the time that it was clever, but I don't remember what it was. I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, Match makes that pretty nice now. This is of course before we had Match.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
I think I did like I think it's like an array get or something like that,
Mm.
or a modulo sort of deal. I can't remember. I cannot remember. I used to have a thing where like it would cycle through colors
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like if you had like do the first, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth, then the first, then the second, you know what I mean? It would cycle
Yeah.
through. And I had a way to do that too that was clever. I haven't done that stuff in a while though. So okay, cool though. That seems like a good heuristic. So like for you, you're like blade, just straight blade. And then it's like maybe a blade component, but that's not for any interactivity. That's just like for extracting if I need to do some sort of logic in order to determine some styles or things like that. And I feel like that's a great place also. Like blade components are a great place to extract things when you're using something like Tailwind. Because Tailwind would not say don't extract anything. They would say don't extract your CSS classes to to a new CSS class. What they would say is use the CSS classes to build a component and then extract that component into whatever, right? Maybe it's a view component. Maybe in this case, it would be a blade component, right? So yeah, that's great. That's the appropriate place for that. Outside of that, you'd say if you need interactivity, it's going to be sort of like Livewire or Alpine. And then that's it. That's the end of your story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like right now I have one particular app that uses Livewire, and I don't think it uses Alpine. I think it uses Livewire and Vue. And what I might, so the thing is, it's sort of painful to sort of depart from Vue because it's already working.
Yeah.
But for the sake of clarity, I might.
I wouldn't go out of my way. I don't know. I wouldn't ever go out of my way. If I had something working with Vue, I'm not going out of my way to change it to anything else.
Yeah. Sure.
But
I'm just curious on some of the stuff.
New with Vue.
Yeah, I'm curious on some of the things. So Wilbur Powery is great at Vue. He loves Vue, and he is all about it. And so anytime I'd ask him to do something, it was always in Vue, right? And if I ask my other developer to do something, he's probably likely to do it in Livewire because he's more comfortable in PHP. Wilbur's not. It's not that he's not comfortable in PHP. He'd just rather do it in Vue. Like if it's going to come down to like one or the other, he's just going to choose Vue every time.
Yeah.
So in this application, I had him do some of it. I had the other developer do some of it. And the other developer, when he was building it a little bit different than when I was like, hey, you should try Livewire because you have like 4 or 5 endpoints out here that the only reason that this controller exists is because you need to get this data, and you can do that in Livewire. So just do that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, and it's sort of been like a rapid application development sort of thing. We've switched these phone systems, and what we found out is that their dashboard that we're paying crazy money for every month is actually hot garbage. And none of it works correctly like how they promised it would work. In fact, we built out an entire thing with AWS and SQS and whatever based on what they told us was going to work. Yeah, sure. When you get a phone call, it should hit this, it'll hit any endpoint you want and it'll send along this payload and then you can whatever. Okay, great. We'll build that up. And then we got into like implementation. We're like, this isn't working. And they're like, oh yeah. Oh man. Well, it looks like that's not working. We're like, really? Great. So you just wasted literally like a week of our life. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's pivot and do something else here. Right. So anyway, their dashboard is hot garbage. So basically we rebuilt the entire thing using their APIs, right? Which is great, but also it was like, we need this like tomorrow. So we've rebuilt it and it's great, but it's sort of like one of those things where it's like, get it done and then we'll optimize it later, right? So we have some stuff written in Vue, some stuff written in Livewire. So I may actually be able to get some time in the near future to be like, hey, we want to actually make this exactly what we want. And at that point, it would probably be a good choice to say like, all right, we're either going to do it all in Livewire or all in Vue or all in whatever, like set the standard because it's going to continue to change moving forward. And I'd rather have sort of like a single paradigm rather than like 5,
Yeah.
So
yep. Totally
anyway, all right. Well, yep. Okay, I will let you know how that goes in our near future here and what that looks like. But that's great. I like your sort of progression there. That gradient of kind of where you start and where you end up with.
Yep.
Yeah, and since you don't have any like JavaScript Vue developers, you don't really have to fight that fight either. There's nobody like pushing for that on your side.
Yep. Yeah, it's all about the bring things in as and when you need them. It's not like I'm starting you up and just like Composer require Livewire.
Yeah, right.
It's almost inevitable that most of the applications are going to need some kind of reactivity, and so that's there. But at the same time, until I need it, I'm not bringing it in. Just like I'm not extracting, any Blade components or anything like that. The stuff that I was working on recently was grabbing Tailwind UI stuff, clicking it in, copy paste.
Yep.
Just to get the page there, and then once it was all there, it was then a matter of okay, let's figure out what is actually duplicated. And then extracting that to a component. So there's a Tailwind UI component that's like image text, text image, image text. You know,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
image on the left, text on the right. Then it flips
Media
and it's text,
object.
and then it's the other way around, right? So then you've got text on the left, image on the right. And I've got 4 of them. So 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and they alternate. And that's just there. They're not components because it's one page. They don't need to be anywhere else. But
exactly, right, sure.
Where I've got FAQs, where it's question answer, 5-6 times. Okay, that's a component because it's exactly the same every time. Question answer,
right,
slot, slot question, or even just as a property, pass that in, and then the slot is the answer. That kind of stuff. I'm not going over the top with components. I'm not extracting everything. It's just as and when I need it. Most of the time I'll extract a blade component where I don't want to duplicate Tailwind classes. Sometimes where it makes more sense, I will do that. Like, for example, when I was redoing our website, which we shipped that this week, the changes I made for our website, some of that stuff is CSS, extracting CSS classes, CSS components. So I've got, a button and I've got links and things like that that are CSS because I don't have a build set. I don't have Laravel, so it makes more sense to have those things in CSS components. And so
sure,
doing
that's
it there.
fine. Yeah.
Which put me back in that deep dark place of having to like name things, and it's like, what is
oh
this
my gosh,
thing?
I know.
And so it's like,
think about
content box
no.
and then content box title and all of these things that made me feel queasy, but it is what it is.
Like buttons and things like that, and like headlines and whatever. Like those are great examples of like perfect spot for blade components though. Like that's perfect. Like icons even, right? With Dries Vince, his X icons package or whatever, blade icons, whatever. Which he tweeted about this last week and said that they've got like 20 contributions, like 20 different icon sets now available on there, which is pretty cool. I was going to say one other thing that might play heavily into this in the near future is headless UI, headless React and Vue UI stuff from Tailwind, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Have you seen that?
That came out.
So that might actually influence me one way or the other. Be like, oh, this is already written for me in Vue. If I'm using Tailwind UI, which I am, I mean, that's pretty huge. That's pretty freaking huge. I mean,
I'm just waiting for the Alpine version. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not
I mean, is that gonna? I guess is that a thing? Is that? I mean, it's not. There is no such thing as.
Well, I mean, initially, all of those samples and things like that were done with Alpine. So
correct, and they still are for like easily for just like copy paste easy stuff like that, I guess. But I don't know if can they do that? Can they do that with Alpine? Can they extract components like that? I guess. I mean,
well, but it's not necessarily the components, but adding that JavaScript there, and showing you how do you do this with Alpine.
Yeah,
so
in those styles,
fingers crossed, or even if it's just in the Tailwind UI side of things, I don't really.
I mean, there is sort of the idea of like Alpine components, right? It's like just have that little function that you call, right? Instead of passing x-data and then actually passing an object, you just pass a function, and then function is defined farther down in your page, and then you just call that function.
Yeah.
And then it provides the data and returns all the values. Yeah.
Yeah.
And methods.
Probably doesn't make much sense for the headless UI stuff, but certainly for the Tailwind UI components that need the reactivity, drop downs and select boxes and things like that, maybe. Or maybe it just doesn't make sense to. I'm sure maybe Adam will message me and tell me where to go.
He doesn't listen to this podcast. Let's be real honest.
Don't be like that. He definitely does. He's messaged me a few times about things that I've said.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right.
He was
Adam,
probably one of 3 people that actually messaged me about the signing bonus.
Oh, nice. Yeah. He was like, "What is it? Tell me what it is."
He did.
And
you
told him it's a gold bar.
It's a gold bar. He did guess what it was. So.
Good man.
All
right, dude.
Wrap this
well,
up
hey, let's wrap this thing up. Yeah, absolutely. We are on episode 94, right?
Correct.
Episode 94. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Eric Van Johnson and Andreas Santabanez. I know that you guys are listening because you messaged me and told me you were.
And
thanks,
Wilbur
guys.
And Jesse.
Are they watching too? Wilbur Power's watching?
He is. He wants to know if you're hosting a viewing party for the Alpine conference, for Alpine Day.
Alpine Day? I didn't even know this was a thing. Gosh. I'm so behind. Wilbur, hit me up. Yeah, we should do it. We should host a viewing party. And we'll get you to fly up here from Puerto Rico. I know it's not Puerto Rico. It's an inside joke. Not really an inside joke. Those same people who I host that other show with. One time we were talking about Wilbur, and they were like, "Yeah, Wilbur, like Puerto Rico." I'm like, "It's not Puerto Rico. It's Costa Rica." They're like, "Oh yeah, Puerto Rico." I'm like, "Guys, it is not Puerto Rico." Like they didn't hear me, and they must have said it 3 times. I was so embarrassed.
He's from Honduras. I have some Honduran coffee beans again. I tuned my coffee machine just for them. I made sure that it extracts for the right amount of time, and let me tell you, the coffee is fantastic.
Good stuff.
Fantastic.
Okay, so back to the 94 thing. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Episode 94. You can find show notes of this episode at northmeetsouth.audio/94. If you would like to hit us up on Twitter at Michael Dorinda, at Jacob Bennett, or at North South Audio, that would be awesome. And rate us up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars would be much appreciated. I'm going to go see. Have people been commenting on the stream or something? Did I miss all this? I think I probably did.
I have indeed.
Darn it. Here it is. Hold on. Wait for it. Give shout outs to all the peoples. Let's see. Yep. Wilbur, Jesse. Hey, Jesse. Sorry. Andreas, Eric. Yeah, great. Okay. Well, folks, that's it for this week. Until next time, which next time we're talking about having a guest, maybe. Maybe it'll be you. Maybe, listener, it will be you. Until then, see ya.
Peace.